For youth in our juvenile justice system that have been formally filed on, that means they have a court case. There's a process through which they will engage. The first stage is they've got to come to court to answer for the charges. If the court finds that those charges are true, as opposed to guilt or not guilt. If the charges are true, that youth is adjudicated and some type of disposition is made. A disposition is what otherwise in a criminal court would be known as punishment. So adjudication is a term so that youth don't have the stigma of being found to be guilty. They are adjudicated or found true of committing an offense. It may be a misdemeanor offense, it may be a serious felony offense. Once that finding is made, there has to be some decision made as to what do we do now. So in disposition, it can be several things that are looked at. The child may be placed on probation in the home of a parent or guardian with services. The child may be placed in a placement because the need is so great, their identified needs are so great that it is believed that that parent or guardian cannot provide them with the rehabilitative services that they need in the home. And on some occasions, a child for a serious offense will be placed directly in the custody of the Texas Juvenile Justice Department as a commitment. In normal type of probation cases, a child will receive a probation of anywhere from 6 months to a year. Any type of identified issues that we've come to understand through a full social evaluation, psychological history, screening, we will put those children in programs to address whatever those needs are. If there's school issues, we'll make sure we wrap services around them to provide that school situation and support. Community service to help them understand that you've taken something out of the community, now you're required to give back. If there are any type of alcohol treatment that may be needed, they'll be engaged in some services to provide that. If it is some offense, say an assault, where maybe there's family violence or maybe there's a propensity for some type of acting out in an assaultive way, they may be referred for anger management or family counseling or whatever services are deemed to be necessary to support, again, that child and that family, because the goal is to help them to not return to the juvenile justice system. If, again, they can't be placed on probation at home with some form of services, then we're looking at a placement. And the placements are all kinds of residential treatment. It can be to address issues of if a child needs residential sex offender treatment. Unfortunately, we do have youth that engage in sexual crimes. It may not be safe for them to return home because the victim is at home. It may be that the supportive services that they need are so profound that they actually need residential sex offender treatment. They may need residential drug treatment. That is a treatment that we provide. There may be other issues such that because of the nature of their conduct or to the volatility of the home that they simply cannot return home. So those children will be placed on probation in a placement, and that is their disposition. Once they come out of placement, we don't want to just send a youth back home to fail. We don't want to send them back home to the same environment in which they came from. While they're in placement, there are many services that will be put in place to engage the family so that they go through family training or other types of rehabilitative services with their child while they're in placement. And once they come out, we wrap a list of services and things around them so that that family and child can be successful in the aftercare component. So if they've been in residential drug treatment, then we're going to have some informal probation services that are aftercare for them within the confines of drug treatment so that they can step down and still have supportive services. There may be other types of services that are identified and needed as an aftercare component, and they will proceed with that once they are released from the formal placement until the time of their probation actually ending. For a youth that goes to the Youth Commission, the juvenile court will lose jurisdiction over those cases with the exception of a determinate sentence case where a youth has been sentenced to a term of years. For those youth that get committed to the Texas Juvenile Justice Department, they can stay until their 19th birthday. Other than a determinate sentence case, the Texas Juvenile Justice Department is mandated to provide them with whatever services that they need in order to impact on whether it's behavioral, whether it's psychological services, social services, and to assist that child and help them move through that system. Typically, those are some of the more serious cases and or more violent offenders. If the child is placed at the Juvenile Justice Department for what's called a determinate sentence, and that's a term of years, they can be paroled by age 19 if they have completed their minimum length of stay, which depending on the offense can be up to 3 years, and they will be paroled with services. If the youth has not appropriately engaged in services, or it is believed that they are still a risk to society or even to themselves, the Texas Juvenile Justice Department will refer those youth back to the court that sentenced them for determination at that point of whether they should be sent on to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division to serve the balance of their sentence, which they would serve as an adult, or whether the court will approve them being released on parole to the adult system, and they'll receive services and supervision through the adult system. But ultimately, those decisions are made typically, again, right before the 19th birthday for a child sentenced as a determinate sentence. Those can be pretty difficult offenses on a determinate sentence. It might be an aggravated sexual assault, maybe a murder, maybe capital murder, maybe aggravated assault, maybe an aggravated robbery. Those are the categories of offenses that'll be there on a determinate sentence and face the exposure of going to prison at a future date.